Hello there monsters and men, ladies and people, and welcome to Recharging. In my review of this car, there was some doubt on how to pronounce this brand, or well, combination of letters. But the word is out, because here in Europe we can just say XPENG. And now it is time to review the bigger, more blobby SUV sibling of the car that I just showed you. Here it is, you can't miss it. Welcome to the review of the XPENG G9. Let's begin with what XPENG G9s, is that a word, 9s are available and what version I am driving. First of all, there is a standard range version. That one has rear-wheel drive, enough power to do 0 to 100 in 6.4 seconds, and maybe more important, a battery pack of 78 kilowatt hours with a LFP chemistry, and then you get a WLTP range of 460 kilometers. Then there is the long range version with the same amount of power, but a 98 kilowatt hour battery pack with a NMC chemistry and a WLTP range of 570 kilometers. And then there is the top of the range version that I am driving, the performance version. All-wheel drive, enough power to do 0 to 100 in 3.9 seconds, and a WLTP range of 520 kilometers. All XPENG G9s are limited to 200 kilometers an hour. Again, here it is, the XPENG G9, the bigger, more blobby SUV sibling of the XPENG P7. But I have to say that for a big SUV, I find it a very good looking car, especially in this amazing matte green color that you can only get on the performance version. But I have to say that the press guy of XPENG told me that this color, at least the matte version, will go away in 2024. I mean, please XPENG, please let it stay because it's so amazing. All right, well, keep it together, mate. All right. What are the main competitors of the XPENG G9? Again, big SUV, 4.9 meters long and around 2400 kilos. And in terms of size, the competitors to this G9 are the Mercedes EQE, the Audi Q8 e-tron, the NIO EL7. But then in terms of price, and now open your ears, the standard range version of the G9 starts from 58,000 euros. And those other cars that I just mentioned are at least 15,000 euros more expensive. And yes, the brands of those other cars that I mentioned call themselves premium and XPENG does not. But still, it is mind-blowing how relatively cheap the G9 is. And besides the price, there's more good news because unlike the P7, the G9 does have a frunk of 71 liters. Let's have a look at the rear. And just like the front, the rear of the XPENG G9, if you ask me, is good looking. The whole car in total, if you ask me, is a good looking SUV. I like the XPENG G9. Now you heard it for the last time, I won't say it anymore. So, big SUV means big boot space, right? Well, if I open up the boot, you will see a boot space of 660 liters. So yes, big SUV means big boot space. If I fold down the rear seats, which I can do with buttons here in the boot itself, you get a boot space of 1576 liters. The XPENG G9 Performance version does have air suspension as standard, and you may have noticed it, but when opening the boot, the air suspension at the rear lowered, so you can get things in and out easier. But if I close the boot, then the air suspension at the rear will raise again. So let's wait, it's closing. There it goes. Air compressor will probably start running a bit. Yeah, it started running, and there. The air suspension is raising itself again. Amazing. Premium. Yeah, so there is a badge performance on the rear of this car. It is just that, like the P7, that badge is only telling you how fast this car can accelerate, because besides that, there is nothing really performance about this car. And don't get me wrong, that is not a bad thing. It is just that the G9 is not a sporty SUV. No, this is a comfortable SUV. The performance version of the G9 does get air suspension as standard, and that air suspension makes sure that, again, this is a really comfortable ride. The only thing is that in most cars with air suspension, when you change drive modes, the behavior of the air suspension changes a little bit. So in comfort, it is more comfortable, and in sport, it is a bit firmer. But here, it doesn't seem to do that. But again, the suspension is really comfortable, although it will not get as comfortable as a Neo ET7 in comfort mode. Besides that, the steering, it's fine. There is just not a whole lot of feeling. And also, when you take a corner with a higher speed with this car, yes, there is plenty of grip. Only you can feel that 2400 kilograms leaning a little bit. But besides that, the car is super quiet. You have super comfortable seats, good adjustment in the seat and the steering wheel, no trouble finding a good driving position in this car. So, quick summary, the XPENG G9 is a car where you can drive in for hours without getting tired. It is just not a sporty SUV. And again, that is not a problem. And I have to mention though that for a modern car, visibility all around is actually pretty good. And all of a sudden, it is a bit darker. Let's just say, quick summary, sometimes you make a bad planning. Anyway, how far can the XPENG G9 go in the real world? Because the WLTP range of the standard range version is 460 kilometers, the long range version 570 kilometers, and then this performance version 520 kilometers. Well, during my test period, it has been around 8 to 10 degrees Celsius, so pretty warm for winter. And well, it has been raining from time to time. And I have to say that the XPENG G9, just like the XPENG P7, is an efficient car. When driving on mixed roads, I get a range of around 475 kilometers. And because of that, I am pretty sure that in spring-summer conditions, you can get close or can get that 520 kilometers of WLTP range that XPENG is claiming that this car can do. That also means that I do expect that the standard range version and also the long range version can do its WLTP range in spring or summer conditions. So, very well done XPENG, very well done. When driving on the highway, so then I'm talking about 100 to 130 kilometers an hour, you get a range of somewhere between 300 and 450 kilometers. And also, that is pretty good. And again, this is a big, heavy car. What helps on higher speeds is that the XPENG G9 has a drag coefficient of 0.27, which for this type of car is really low. Again, well done XPENG. And I think that the software in this XPENG G9 already had some software updates compared to the XPENG G7. Because in the XPENG G7, for regen, I could choose between normal, high, and high wasn't really high, and X pedal. But here in the XPENG G9, I can choose between low, normal, high, and X pedal. And in the XPENG G9, high is actually high. You get proper regen when you set the car to high regen. In XPENG P7, X pedal wasn't a one pedal drive mode. And in this XPENG G9, X pedal is still not a one pedal drive mode. You slow down to around 3 kilometers an hour, but for some reason the car doesn't stop completely. So again, XPENG, do this. Make X pedal a one pedal drive mode. People like that about electric cars. Me too, me too. Besides that, the navigation software does plan charging stops if your destination exceeds your range. And also, if you navigate to a fast charger, this car will precondition the battery, so it will heat it or it will cool it, so you do get an optimal fast charging speed. Just like the Hyundai Ioniq models and Kia EV models, the XPENG G9 stands on a platform that uses a 800-volt battery architecture. And if you want to know all benefits of a 800-volt battery architecture, then watch my review of the Hyundai Ioniq 5. But the biggest benefit of that architecture is a faster fast charging speed. That means that the XPENG G9 can charge with a maximum of 320 kilowatts. Yeah, you heard me right. The XPENG G9 can fast charge with a maximum of 320 kilowatts. In optimal conditions, charging it from 10 to 80% will take you less than 20 minutes. That also means that on a longer trip, the XPENG G9 will not be the bottleneck. This car is done charging whenever you are ready to drive again. The onboard charger of the XPENG G9 is a 3-phase onboard charger, that means 11 kilowatts. Charging the smaller battery pack from 0 to 100% will take you around 8 hours. Charging the larger battery pack from 0 to 100% will take you around 10 hours. As standard, the XPENG G9 does have support for vehicle to load. And then let's have a look at the space on the rear seats. And as you can see, I am sitting like a king. This is impressive. The seat in front of me is in my typical driving position. I am 1 meter and 85 centimeters. Plenty of space for my legs. I can even stretch my legs if I want to. Massive headroom. The car is wide, so sitting here with 3 people, no problem. I mean, even the person sitting here on the middle seat has enough space for his or her legs. Again, really impressive. Besides that, the seat itself is really comfortable and I can also recline it a little bit if I want to with, well, the press of a button. Again, I am super comfy in here, super comfy. The only thing that I have is that I would have liked a little bit more support here for my legs. Besides that, there are 2 USB-C ports here in the middle. 2 USB ports, 1 USB-A and 1 USB-C. And then you have a middle armrest here, which is also massive with a cubby. Yeah, with a cubby. As already mentioned, XPENG does not yell or pretend to be a premium brand. But looking at their interior so far, they come pretty close. The quality of the materials being used are good. The build quality feels rock solid. It is impressive what they are doing. And again, XPENG is saying hello to the premium car brands. Besides that, look at the color of this. Well, this is fake leather, but look at the color. It reminds me a bit of BMWs. And I know that my wife hates this, but I love it. I think it looks amazing. Besides that, cubby space. The door pockets are of a decent size. They do fit a 1-liter bottle. Under the center armrest there is a huge cubby, and also you can open the center armrest from both sides. There are 2 cup holders here, places for your mobile phone, but only one is equipped with wireless charging. Under the center console there is a huge cubby space and also a USB-A port, USB-C port and a 12-volt socket. But your glove box, well, is not that big. Then let's have a look at the infotainment system, and well, I can basically paste the things that I said in the XPENG P7 video in this video because you do get the same infotainment system. That means even though there are some Chinese car quirks, you get a system with sharp graphics that is super snappy and responsive. And for a system without physical buttons, I find it a user-friendly system to use. Again, this is really well done by XPENG. The only thing is that the translation is a bit weird from time to time, and therefore finding certain settings can be a bit difficult. But the system is over-the-air updatable, so it will only improve in the future. The only downside is there is no support for Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. Every electric car has at least one speaker on the outside to emit the sound that you hear when you drive slowly. This XPENG G9 has 2 speakers on the outside and it has a boombox function. That means my phone is connected via Bluetooth to the infotainment system, that I can play any sound that I want, and the sound is emitted by the speakers on the outside of the XPENG G9. I mean, that is awesome, right? For a change, during a review, I am not sitting in the driver's seat, but I am sitting on the passenger seat. And for good reason, because as you may have already noticed, the XPENG G9 does not have 2 screens, but it has 3 screens. One in front of the driver with the driving information, one in the middle with the infotainment system, and one here in front of the passenger to entertain the passenger. As a passenger, I can control the climate control, I can control the media, but even better, I can listen to Spotify, I can watch YouTube, Disney+, Netflix. I find this amazing. But I hear you thinking, how does this not distract the driver? Well, from the angle you are watching, this should be all black. And that is because there is a privacy layer over this screen, and therefore you can only look at it from certain angles. But I have to mention that when there are bright colors at this screen, or the brightness is at its max, or when you're driving at night, as a driver you can see this screen a little bit. But I don't find it that distracting, but for some people it maybe is. And also for the audio, you can choose to play the audio through the speakers, but again, that might be distracting for the driver. So what you can also do is get your headphones or your earbuds and make a separate Bluetooth connection with this screen so that you can listen to your Netflix series and the driver can listen to its own media. Again, I find this amazing. In most reviews of the XPENG G9 and also in my review of the XPENG P7, there is the complaint that XPilot, and XPilot is the name of all the driving assistance systems in this car, is too Chinese. Let me first say that in general I think XPilot at the moment works well, but yes, I do agree that it is calibrated too much to the Chinese market at the moment, which does make sense because, well, it is a Chinese car. But we Europeans, well, we just don't like that. For example, when using the adaptive cruise control, when setting it at its lowest distance, the distance to the car in front of you is still too much. You cannot activate XPilot above 130 kilometers an hour. And also when taking a corner, the car slows down, which is fine, but it does it too much. And since this is a major complaint by all Western reviewers, the press guy of XPENG told me that some Chinese engineers of XPENG visited Europe, they've got some insight, and a software update is coming to calibrate XPilot more to our Western or European liking. So that is good news. In a month or two, that software update will be coming. It is currently the 9th of February of 2024, so you know that. But the only advice that I can give you at the moment is that the XPilot that I am driving at the moment is not the XPilot that you will be getting when buying this car. So when you are interested in an XPENG, just go try it for yourself when the software update is there. Again, it will be there in a month or two. So what is my final verdict of the XPENG G9? Well, I can be short about it, because if you are in the market for this type of electric car, you would be foolish to not at least have a look at the XPENG G9. I mean, it is big, it is comfortable, it is efficient, it charges like crazy, and it is full of tech, and that for a price that is significantly lower than the competition. And that was my review of the XPENG G9. If you liked it, please give a like and do subscribe. If you have something to say, leave a comment, and then thank you a lot for watching, and as always, to be continued.